Nightfall, Millhaven. The once bustling town now lay in eerie silence, shrouded in darkness. Crickets chirped, a lonely sound now. Their rhythmic song was the only sign of life in the otherwise desolate night. The air, usually thick with the smell of pine and earth, now carried a metallic tang. It was as if the very essence of the forest had changed, becoming something unfamiliar and foreboding. Fear, a silent predator, stalked the empty streets. Shadows seemed to move on their own, and every creak and rustle sent shivers down the spine of anyone brave enough to be outside. Inside a boarded-up diner, 4 figures huddled around a flickering lantern. The dim light cast long, dancing shadows on the walls, making the room feel even more claustrophobic. John, a mechanic, his face grim, tightened his grip on a tire iron. His knuckles were white, and his eyes darted around, searching for any sign of danger. Sarah, a high school senior, sat beside him, clutching a baseball bat, her eyes wide with terror. She'd never felt so vulnerable, and the bat in her hands was her only source of comfort. Old Man Hemlock, who had seen more winters than anyone could count, muttered to himself, clutching a worn Bible. His lips moved in silent prayer, seeking solace in the familiar words. Mary, a young nurse, tried to staunch the bleeding cut on her arm, her face pale and drawn. She had seen injuries before, but the fear in the room made her hands tremble. They were trapped with only the faintest hope of escape. The walls seemed to close in on them, and the weight of their situation pressed heavily on their hearts. Each one of them knew that the night was far from over, and the dawn seemed an eternity away. The radio had sputtered its last hours ago. Whatever was happening had spread quickly, engulfing the town in a tide of chaos and terror. They had seen their neighbours change, their eyes turning milky white, their flesh rotting, driven by an insatiable hunger. John peeked through a crack in the boarded-up window. The streetlights flickered erratically, casting long, dancing shadows. The silence was unnerving, broken only by the occasional moan carried on the wind. A sudden thump from the back of the diner sent a jolt of fear through the group. They exchanged terrified glances. Something was trying to get in. They were sitting ducks. The thump came again, louder this time, followed by the splintering of wood. John grabbed his tire iron, his heart pounding in his chest. The others scrambled back, their eyes fixed on the back door. It burst open with a groan, revealing a figure silhouetted against the moonlight. It lurched forward, a grotesque mockery of a human being. Its skin was a sickly grey, stretched taut over bones, its eyes vacant and white. The stench of decay filled the air, making Sarah gag. The creature opened its mouth in a silent snarl, revealing teeth blackened with rot. This was no longer their neighbour, Mrs. Henderson, but something monstrous, something hungry. Faces of the damned. Panic seized them. John reacted instinctively, swinging the tire iron with all his might. It connected with a sickening thud, the creature's head snapping back. It stumbled but didn't fall. It seemed impossible to stop. More figures shambled into view behind the first, drawn by the commotion. Their faces, a macabre gallery of death, were frozen in expressions of eternal hunger. Some were missing limbs, others had gaping wounds, their flesh putrid and decaying. They moved with an unsettling jerkiness, their limbs stiff and uncoordinated. But their hunger was palpable, a driving force that animated their decaying bodies. The survivors were outnumbered, outmatched. Their only hope was to run. The gas station gauntlet, the gas station! A place that once symbolized a quick stop for fuel and snacks, now a haunting relic of a world gone by. John shouted, grabbing Sarah's arm with a sense of urgency. "Maybe we can find a car!" His voice was filled with a mix of hope and desperation, a thin thread to cling to in the chaos. They bolted out of the diner, the creatures close behind, their grotesque forms illuminated by the dim streetlights. The night air was thick with the smell of decay and the sound of their pursuers' moans, a chilling symphony of the apocalypse. The gas station was only a block away, a beacon of flickering fluorescent light in the encroaching darkness. But between them and safety lay a gauntlet of the undead, a nightmarish obstacle course. They weaved through abandoned cars, their breath catching in their throats with every close call. Old Man Hemlock stumbled, his breath rattling in his chest like a broken engine. Mary stopped to help him, her eyes darting between the approaching horde and the distant gas station. The fear in her eyes was palpable, a silent scream for survival. They were running out of time, the seconds ticking away like a bomb ready to explode. The gas station, once a mundane stop, now represented their last hope, a fragile sanctuary in a world overrun by darkness. Ray's plan. They burst through the gas station door, slamming it shut just as the first of their pursuers reached them. The night was dark, and the air was thick with tension. Every second counted as they scrambled to secure their temporary refuge. John quickly piled cans of motor oil and bags of fertilizer against the flimsy barrier. His hands moved with a desperate urgency, knowing that their lives depended on the makeshift barricade holding up, even if just for a few precious moments. It wouldn't hold them long. The door shuddered under the force of their attackers, and the survivors exchanged tense glances, their faces etched with fear and determination. A figure emerged from the shadows in the back of the gas station. The dim light cast eerie shadows, making the figure appear even more menacing. It was Ray, the reclusive owner, his eyes wild, clutching a pump-action shotgun. He had always been a mystery to the locals, but now he seemed like their only hope. He had a crazed look on his face, a manic grin revealing missing teeth. His appearance was unsettling, but his resolve was unmistakable. "I know how to stop him," Ray rasped, his voice hoarse. His words cut through the tension, offering a glimmer of hope amidst the chaos. "I seen it on a comic book once." His statement seemed absurd, but in their desperate situation, any plan was better than none. "Gotta hit him in the head." The survivors nodded, understanding that this was their best chance. He pumped the shotgun, the sound echoing in the tense silence. It was a sound that promised both protection and a fight. Hope, however fragile, flickered in the survivors' eyes. They knew the odds were against them, but Ray's plan gave them a reason to believe they might just make it through the night.